Hello everyone, welcome back to Bragging About Cinema. I know it's been a little bit of time since my last video. Life's been crazy, been doing all kinds of things, getting ready for the holiday season, finishing up school, and crazy work schedule. But here we are, back with the triumphant return, and our first review up is going to be, you guessed it, Spider-Man No Way Home. Alright, before we begin, if you could, just go right down, hit that subscribe button, then slide right over and hit the notifications bell so you can be there the next time I make a video. And I promise it will not be 4 weeks in between videos like it has been this last time. Now, I'm sure most of you have already seen Spider-Man, or you've already watched another review. You've made up your mind. I'm giving this an A+. But what we're going to do next is going to be spoilery. So if you don't want to hear anything or you haven't seen it yet, I would suggest pausing it, coming back after you watch the movie, and we could kind of have a little discussion. Me on the camera, you down below in the comments. The first act picks out literally where Far From Home left off. Spider-Man is outed. Everybody knows Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Now, I remember back when Iron Man came out. At the end of the movie, Tony Stark let everyone know he was Iron Man. I didn't like that choice, because one thing I like about superheroes is their balance between two lives and trying to, protect their family by not letting people know their true identity. So back to Spider-Man, it actually worked really well in this movie because it's not going well. People are blaming him for murder. Everybody either is against him for killing Mysterio, or everybody loves him and wants to be his friend and is a Spider-Man super fan. The first act is really just Peter Parker trying to cope with the fact that everybody knows who he is. Not only is it impacting him, it's impacting all his friends around him. And that's really what kicks off into Act 2, which sets our hero in action. He tries to change the world, make everybody forget about Spider-Man. If you've seen the trailer, that's the basic premise of the movie. And of course, those spells and those magicians, you never know what's going to happen. And the spell didn't go quite as advertised. If you watch the trailer, you know already there was villains galore everywhere. We've got the Green Goblin, we've got Electro, we've got Lizard, we've got Sandman, we've got Dr. Octopus, and of course, spoiler, one last warning, Daredevil shows up in the movie, but he's not a villain. Oh, and those other two Spider-Man guys, they're also in the movie too. No big deal. So what I liked about this is I've been waiting to see Daredevil. I'm a huge fan of the Daredevil show. I know this isn't a Daredevil review at all, but after watching the last episode of Hawkeye, we see Kingpin show up. So now we know at least some of the best parts of the Daredevil universe are showing up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The best parts of the movie I thought were Green Goblin. He is a great villain. I was really hoping he would survive the end and we'd get some more interaction between him and the new Spider-Man. I know we don't have the emotional connection. I was also bummed that this confirmed there is no Osborn in the current MCU. I also liked Dr. Octopus. He was also great in his movie, and he picked up right where he left off. He was kind of the ended up being the hero after Peter Parker fixes him. I think what this movie solidified is that the original trilogy, at least the first two films, were far superior than any of the other Spider-Mans that have come since. After rewatching a little bit of the old Spider-Man movie, it helps that he is not bogged down with constantly worrying about what are the Avengers doing, or all the different influences. Those are really strictly Spider-Man stories. Sometimes the newer trilogy doesn't have just a Spider-Man story. What I also loved, and probably my favorite part, was just watching the three Spider-Man actors compare notes and seeing what works. I love that they were all down. They had something negative happen, and the other two admitted they didn't handle it well. They didn't handle those bad moments. And Tom Holland, Spider-Man, had his opportunity to go down the dark rabbit hole, and luckily, with a little help from his friends, he didn't quite go down that rabbit hole. I loved seeing Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man because I don't think we ever had closure with him at the end of his Spider-Man sequel. I thought there was more story to tell, and I really loved how they showed still the emotional trauma of losing Gwen Stacy in the last movie that he was in, and a pretty cool moment where he was able to save the MCU's MJ, and it really hit him hard in the feels. Now, comparing this to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man trilogy, so I thought his tier of villains were, a little notch below. I mean, the Lizard barely spoke. He really wasn't that cool. I did like how they changed Electro to a little more comic accurate, but I didn't. Still, he wasn't. He just didn't hold up against the Sam Raimi villains, Goblin and Dr. Octopus. Although it was him that was kind of the catalyst for the villains turning, as at first they made it look like the villains were just, misunderstood people trying to find their way in the universe. They really kind of glossed over Spider-Man 3, although Sandman was still in it. I thought he had played a pivotal role. He was kind of the stuck in between wanting to, get revenge on Spider-Man, but he still wants to get back to seeing his daughter. That was still really important to him. And now, one character we did not see until the very, 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 very after credit scene was Venom. So this is what disappointed me. I was excited to see Venom match up against Spider-Man. I was excited to see where they went. That was a tease from Venom 2, and it was just a tease. And he was there. He left a little bit of Venom juice behind. So there's going to be a Venom in the MCU at some point. But now I'm wondering, when are we going to see Spider-Man in that other universe? Because we have Morbius coming out in January. Now, out of all the three Spider-Mans, I have to say Andrew Garfield is probably right up there with one of my favorites. I think his humor and his also way to just get emotional at the right times. He is, I don't know which one's my favorite. I've thought about this because I've liked all the movies. His sequel was probably the worst of all the Spider-Man movies, even worse than Tobey Maguire's. But I hope we could get another movie with him. I doubt we will. I would love to see either him or even Tobey Maguire to get some kind of closure after his movie wasn't the best. I don't know if that's in the works. I read that they're working on the next set of movies with Tom Holland. I've also heard him say in interviews that he wants to take a break. So who knows what the future is for Spider-Man. Now, another thing that I didn't love about the movie is over this newest Spider-Man trilogy, we've kind of teased the Mary Jane or the MJ relationship with Spider-Man, and never really blossomed like the Maguire trilogy or even the Gwen Stacy relationship in the second Spider-Man set. So I was kind of bummed, and then at the end, if you watched it, you know that his everybody's memory is completely wiped. No one knows who he is. He sees his friends. He sees them on their path to success. He does not hold up to his promise, and he walks away without telling them who he is. Now, I loved the very last scene. I thought that was the best Spider-Man suit. I hope if they do future installments with him, that's the suit they use. Try to maybe take a little technology out and maybe ground the movie a little bit more than it is currently. So I love this movie. Again, I give it an A+. Thought it was a wild ride. It felt like an event film, just like an Avengers film with all the different Spider-Man characters. Worst kept secret that they weren't going to be in it when they actually were. I am anxious to see where they go with this. Also, if you stayed all the way to the end, you saw the kind of preview of Doctor Strange 2. I'm really excited about that. I really want to see some craziness. I wonder if they're going to invite anybody from other non-MCU Marvel movies. We could see Daredevil from Ben Affleck, or maybe even X-Men, Fantastic Four. I don't know where they're going to go with this, but that movie looks pretty crazy, and they have a pretty good villain already lined up. So that's pretty high on the excitement list for the next Marvel movie coming out. One more thing I don't want to forget. What a shocking moment that was to see Aunt May get killed by the Green Goblin. That really set off Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I have to say I really enjoyed the limited screen time that Marissa Tomei's Aunt May has received compared to the other Aunt Mays from the movies, and I always thought that was an important relationship that we have missed with Tom Holland Spider-Man, and now she's gone. Boy, I'm really excited to see him as kind of the Ronin, nobody knows him, Spider-Man, what that's going to be like, what villains are going to bring in now that he is all by himself. What is the next Spider-Man going to be titled? It's Spider-Man All Alone. Is he going to be kind of like a Ronin with no friends? Speaking of friends, I thought his friends also had an interesting role. Ned as the possible wizard. I wonder, are they going to go further with that, or is that kind of just a one-time thing to make the movie interesting? And then, of course, Zendaya as MJ. She was a perfect complement to Spider-Man. I just wish we got to see the romance blossom just a little more. So, hey, thanks for watching. I would really love to hear what you thought of the movie below. Sometimes these Marvel movies can, be a little divisive, and we can get some good conversation about what you thought, or what you thought about what I thought, because when you watch my videos, you're going to find something to brag about.